looked at the first of these four aspects of the view of awareness, or ways of describing awareness. If you look at traditional texts, you find many different ways of doing it, because, as we looked before, this is trying to say the unsayable. So the key thing is to try to take some flavor or some coloration from the description, and don't turn it into a sort of definite knowledge, because it will become stale. Tibetans have a saying that if you have a ball of butter, and in Tibetan they would hand churn the butter and then scrape it out and pack it into a ball. And if you put that into a bag of leather and you hang it on the wall, after some time the leather bag will dry out and become crumbly. But if you take the butter and you massage it into the leather will remain soft. So this is how we are with Dharma. If you fill yourself up with Dharma knowledge, but you don't apply it, it can make you pompous and rigid and theoretical and all kind of unpleasant things. For us, better to take a little bit of Dharma and massage it in every day, and you really apply it in your life so that it becomes a way of softening yourself. So the second feature is Trundrup, which we touched on earlier. This means effortlessly arising, or instantly present, or fully formed in itself. Awareness is not created by anyone. It doesn't arise due to causes and conditions. It's not produced by interaction. Most things in life are created by the meeting of two or more features. So if you want to make a pizza, you have some flour, you have water, and so on, and you mix these things together with the dough and the yeast or whatever. If you want to make babies, you get a man and a woman, they do jig-a-jig, and then if you're lucky or unlucky, depending on circumstances, you get a baby. Two, then you get another. If you only have one, then you don't get production. One by itself doesn't produce anything. It is interaction. So you have a seed and you have the earth, and then a little flower grows. But a stone doesn't really do anything. The stone maintains an isolated singularity. So causes and conditions means the meeting together of several different causal factors. And as these factors meet, they generate a particular form of manifestation. And we'll look at this more. But at this stage, the key thing is to see Rigpa is not like that. Rigpa is not made. It's not a construct. It comes all at once as nothing, but as the radiance of nothing, or the brilliance of nothing, or the showing power of nothing. It is unapprehendable. It doesn't have a history. It's outside of time. It's always there. It is indestructible. So you don't have to be too protective of awareness. You never lose your awareness, because awareness is the basis of every experience that you have moment by moment. The thoughts and feelings vanish. As I get older, I have a thought, if I go into the shops, I need to buy something, and if I don't write it down, I'll forget. Because the thought comes and it goes, and as you get older, it leaves less and less trace. So I have lots of bits of paper here, there, and everywhere. Thoughts are vanishing. Feelings are vanishing. Awareness doesn't vanish. Therefore, you can cut on awareness. So some of you have done this as a Semsin practice or general practice, the use of pet. So you make a loud sound of pet because you're cutting on awareness. You're cutting consciousness off awareness. You're cutting
thoughts and feelings, you're cutting everything, because they all go, they all die, but awareness stays. So you can be rough with awareness because it's indestructible. So that's why there are many strong forms of yoga, breathing exercises and so on, because you can just flush out all the unnecessary stuff and you'll always be left with awareness. So this is what Lundrup indicates. You didn't make it. It's not something that belongs to you. Your mind is not yours. You are your mind's. The ego is the child of the mind. The mind is not the owner of the ego. The mind doesn't own the ego or catch it, and the ego can't catch or own the mind. But the ego emerges as the movement of the energy of the mind. So Lundrup is again saying, this awareness is there by itself, unconstructed, and you can trust it. So when you feel down, when you feel lost, when you feel confused, who is confused? You are confused as the person who believes that your thoughts, feelings, and sensations tell you the truth about yourself. The reason you are confused is because you are confusable. You don't have to be confusable. But as long as you believe that your thoughts, feelings, sensations tell you the truth about yourself, you will be confusable because you are stupid. You don't have to be stupid. When the thought, I'm fucked up, I've wasted my life, I'm in a mess, I don't know what to do, I don't know how I should live or who I should be with, I just don't know anything, it's just a mass of thoughts. Perfect. I'm living in a snowstorm, a blizzard of thoughts and feelings. Of course you are. Yeah, that's what the mind is. It's just movement. You recognize the movement is movement, but it doesn't stop. That's what the Buddha said. It doesn't stop. Don't try to stop it. If it's moving, and it's moving, and it's moving, that means there's no car crash. If you're on the M25 and the traffic's moving, that means no one's been crushed to death. But when you get a big tailback, it usually means there's a mangled body somewhere. Yeah? So in your mind, if you've got a lot of stuff moving through, it's open. The mind is open. My mind is open. Let the traffic flow. If you identify with the traffic, you get a crash. So anxiety, depression, despair, confusion, these are all mini car crashes because you've over-identified with the transient aspect of the mind. So again and again, allow the flowing to flow. But how will I know what to do? You'll never know what to do. You'll find yourself doing something. Who should I be with? Who would know? Your mum, your dad, God, the Pope? Who would you ask? I ask myself, I don't know. Well, don't ask this guy because he'll say, it's me. Don't ask the other guy, he'll say, it's me. Don't ask anyone. You don't know. You don't know. Something will happen. Something will arise. If you spend a lot of time wondering, should I do this, should I do that? All you do is thicken barriers to the possibility because you start to feel something, so you intensify the structure of your own interpretation of yourself and of other people. If you want something to emerge, there has to be space for emergence. That's why we relax in the practice. We don't try hard. Because the one who is trying hard is the one who does things. And the one who does things, I do it, has taken scissors and cut themselves off from the root of their being. They are self-orphaning. Self-orphaning means deceiving. It's like a little child having a tantrum and saying, I don't like you, mummy. You're not my mummy. I'm not going home. Listen, we've got to go to bed now. No, you're not my mother. Okay, then you better choose another mother because I'm heading off now, baby. But the mother can't do that because the mother never abandons the baby, although the baby tries to abandon the mother. This is it. Awareness never abandons you, but you say fuck off to awareness because you get involved in your thoughts, your idea about who you are, and this envelops you in this fog, this ever-thickening fog of self-reference. But you're still the child of space. You're still the flowering of the openness of the mind. So this is Hlundrup, this always here, always open, always fresh. The third aspect is Kata, primordial purity, which we touched on before. Awareness cannot be contaminated by anything that occurs. So, to illustrate this, you usually use the image of the mirror. And we have a mirror on the wall here, so it's very easy to see. You look in the mirror, you see a reflection. The reflection is a representation. You represent something which is situated in front of the mirror. The reflection seems to be inside the mirror. You can't take the reflection out of the mirror. People could move out of the room and the reflection would vanish, but if you're looking at the reflection, it's in the mirror. It's very intimately connected with the mirror. And then when people move or the lights go off and it becomes dark, we don't see any reflection. The reflections vanish. So they fill the mirror. They seem to be the inhabitants of the mirror. They seem to, in fact, be the expression of the mirror. They seem to be what the mirror is, because you look in the mirror, that's what you see. But they don't mark the mirror, because when the reflection goes, the mirror is available. It's not tired, it's not burnt out, it doesn't get exhausted, it doesn't miss the reflection that's just gone, it's not waiting anxiously for another reflection. Whether there's a reflection or not, it doesn't mind. So that's like awareness. That's its purity. Awareness is not improved by the quality of what arises in it. So if you have happy thoughts, you feel relaxed, you feel a lot of love and compassion, it doesn't mean that you have good awareness. If you have sad thoughts, murderous thoughts, selfish thoughts, thoughts of hatred, this doesn't mean you have a bad awareness, because neither good thoughts nor bad thoughts alter the nature of awareness. What they do is they alter the nature of your consciousness. So if you're conscious of yourself, consciousness is the aspect of knowing which takes an object. So I turn and I look at it and think, oh, conscious of the time, it's 2:15. There's an object out here. My consciousness relates to the object and generates, through the interaction of my knowledge base and the patterning of the hands on the watch, it generates the understanding it's 2:45. This is a production. Something is coming into being. And if I had looked and I suddenly saw that it was 5:45, I think, shit, what happened? Did I fall asleep? Life passes very quickly. Huh? So I would have a different mood. I think, still 2:45, we've got time to do things. Yeah? So how the object impacts us shifts us. You know that's very clear. You get a good lunch or a bad lunch. It's like that. You feel happy, you feel sad. So consciousness is moving. Consciousness is a participating aspect of your mind. Awareness does not participate. The mirror is not participating. When something participates, it is affected by what is there. In the restaurant, I ate some food and then they took away the plate and they have to clean the plate because it gets marked by some staining of the food. Now, you might have to dust the mirror from time to time, but nobody has to come at the end of the day and say, fuck, James's reflection was in there all afternoon, poor mirror. And they put on some scrubbing and try to rub me out of it. So if that's what consciousness is, people linger in our consciousness. Kids come home from school and they say, I hate it, I hate that teacher, I'm not going back. They're really upset. They're upset, it's not right, I shouldn't have that. It's really disturbing. Because consciousness gets infected and reformed by experience. This is subject and object. Consciousness is the intelligent aspect of our subject formation as we participate in the world. Awareness is not like that. So all the turbulence that you have in your life, the hopes and fears, things going well, things going badly, regrets, plans, all of this turbulence, in the traditional example, it's just like waves on the top of the ocean. Just waves. Sometimes the wind blows a lot, the waves are big and crashing. Sometimes there's no wind and it's fairly calm. Doesn't make any difference, because big wave, small wave is water. It's just water. It's a form of water. The thoughts, feelings, sensations are forms of emptiness. They don't come into the world. They are unborn, but unceasing. There's always something going on, and what is it? Empty of inherent existence. It doesn't have any internal truth of its own. But what you do have is patterning. The movement of these forces creates patterning. So kada, purity, means untouched, undefiled, uninvolved, untransformed, unmediated, just constant, open. We're open a bit, and then somebody says something unpleasant to us, and we feel hurt. So we start to close down, or we become defensive, or we become aggressive. Don't say that to me. So then we realize, I wasn't really open. I was only a little relaxed because things were going well, and now you spoiled it. You've ruined the evening. Huh? Sometimes you go in a restaurant and you see a couple sitting there and it's gone sour. And they sit and they try to finish the food because they're Scottish. They're not going to fucking get up and leave. And it's terrible because you're trapped in something that's not nice. How could you say that to me? How could you say that to me? Will you stop looking at the waitress's tits? Oh, these are the sort of things that get to people. I'm here with you, look at me. So we are very vulnerable in terms of personality, which is the emotion and historical formation, which, like we have a skeleton with bones, that's like the consciousness, the capacity of the mind to think clearly about things. And then you have the cladding of the muscle and the flesh. That's like the personality, the fleshy bit of ourselves, which of course has this hypersensitive skin on it, because we're always vibrating to what's around, advantage, disadvantage. Awareness is not like this. It's easy, unbothered. The mirror is not troubled if something beautiful is put there or something ugly is put there. It's open and welcoming, and it doesn't have to bother because it's not touched. It shows, but it's not touched. Now, this doesn't mean that if you were to develop this quality, you would be anesthetized. You would be so kind of untouched by everything, you'd be completely flat. Because if you do the practice, you don't become flat. You become a bit more connected and lively and playful and creative, because you're not blocking the flow of thought. But what it does mean is that things arise and pass. Rumination, chewing things over, returning to them, not being able to drop it, not being able to let go of something, that should be dissolving through the practice of meditation. One sign that you're actually getting somewhere in your practice should be something good happens, that was great, and it's gone. Something terrible happens, that was shit, and it's gone. And you're here. And the more you're here, there's less tracing. There's less trace on you. There's less impact. And so there's less build-up of tension and positioning, which in the inner yogic system comes about as narrowing of the nadi, knotting in the nadi, vibration in the prana, and so on. Where you get cut off or overreactive, you respond to people inappropriately because you're buzzing with something inside yourself. All of that should ease its way out. So the fourth aspect of awareness is called Yesanje, means primordial Buddhahood. From the very beginning, all the qualities of the Buddha are present in the mind of all sentient beings as the truth of the mind of all sentient beings. The basis of your existence is awareness. The delusion of your existence is the patterning of the content of the mind that you hang on to as the representation about who you are. So, and this is, for meditators, this is a very important point. Primordial Buddhahood means everything I need is already there, not in some potential state, but there. It's already there, fully there, the whole shebang. This is Dzogchen Chenpo. It is complete. Nothing is lacking. So I don't need to do anything to remove it. I simply need to stay present with it. So then we move from Primark to haute couture. There's a lot of pret-a-porter meditation. Read a book, 5 steps to meditation, and so on. Buy it off the shelf, and this is what to do. But Dzogchen is very different. This is Yves Saint Laurent. This is somebody with a very good eye who sees how cloth hangs and sees the potential. It's so important, isn't it? If you're going to have a woman walk down a catwalk in high heels, moving her arse, the cloth should be moving as well. So the cut is very, very important. So we are going to look in the detail at ourselves. You can't do it from the outside. This is customized. This is the unique specificity of your existence. So there's formulations you can have from the outside, but the only way to do it is to look at yourself. I think we've all heard of Milarepa, this famous Tibetan yogi who spent many, many years in caves. When he was quite old, his close disciple, Gampopa, came to see him and said, "Master, I've been with you for many, many years, and you've taught me so many things, and I'm very satisfied with what you've taught me, but there is some secret you haven't given me. What's the basis of your success?" So he stood up, Milarepa stood up, and he turned around, he lifted up his yogi skirt, and he showed him his arse. And his arse was covered with these thick calluses of skin. I sat on my arse in a cave for years, summer and winter. That's the secret. He was looking at his mind. He was getting to know himself. So the time that you spend with yourself, not thinking about something, not making plans and wondering and hopes and fears, but you actually sit with yourself, experiencing the unfolding of your existence, this is the central thing. Because nobody can steal that from you. When you see, all of these things that come, go. They go. And I try to hang on to what's going. I'm stupid. I have cheated myself so much of my life thinking I was going to get someplace. When you're at school, you do these exams and you do your A-levels and maybe you get to university, you get a degree, now you've got a bit of paper. As soon as you get your degree, it means fuck all. Nobody cares. Maybe it gets you your first job. Did anyone ever ask to see your certificate? It's an illusion. You've got someplace, and then after half an hour it's gone, and then it's gone, and then it's gone. That's life. So all the things that you put so much time and energy into, they're vanishing. So over there you've got books and they have my name on them. It's just a bit of paper. I remember all the hours putting together all these things, reviewing the translations and so on and so on. And you're in a process, and then when it comes to the end, it's gone. I can't sort of walk around with them. Hey, Mom, look, it's me. It's gone. There's nothing to get from it. It's just gone. Because life is this unfolding process. So whatever we're trying to get in life is sand going through the fingers. Now, this is another reason why awareness is important, because awareness is inseparable from aesthetic appreciation. Awareness is infinite and finely attuned. It's very delicate. It picks up colours and shapes and the minutiae of sounds. It sees people's expressions. And there is so much which is just amazing. In the pizza house, there was a guy serving and a woman serving. And I was looking across, and the guy said something to the woman, and her lip just curled ever so slightly. Oh, I felt so happy inside. It's like, oh, and he couldn't really see it. He didn't want to see it, and it just vanished from her face. But she had given him a silent slap. You wanker. And when that's happening all the time, the world is full of the most delicious, nuanced moments where so much is revealed. Nothing is hidden. How people are, their feelings that come out in their face. This is the showing of life. So awareness allows us to have more sense of that. Going back to what we looked at before, we're not assuming, we're not projecting, we're receiving. And then life is very bright and fresh moment by moment. So each of us have this primordial Buddha. In Tibetan language, the word Buddha is made of two parts. Sang, which means purified, and Ge, which means expanding. So essentially, Sang means the unification of Kada and Lundrup. Buddha means all bad things gone, or no bad things from the very beginning, nothing to be done, and fully ripened, fully present, needing no extra work, also from the very beginning. If we just imagine what that would be, and then you observe the movement of your mind, and you think, but I want to be a better person. When I look at myself, I find I'm not very kind. I could be more loving, I could be more thoughtful about other people. Okay? So, what's that a thought about? It's a thought about personality. It would be very good if you were more kind before you died. When you die, what will happen to your kindness? Will it be taken out of you with a kindness extractor and then taken to the hospital, and when a baby's born, they just give it a little injection of kindness? It will be gone. It will be gone. Whatever you develop as your qualities, you've mastered all of Chopin's nocturnes. Amazing. Little twinge, doctor, arthritis, nothing to be done. Bye-bye nocturne, good night. That happens to people. Whatever is created will be destroyed. So it's not bad to develop compassion. It's not bad to develop any of these qualities. But we have to be aware of a kind of hubris, an inflation, that I'm developing myself, I'm becoming a special spiritual person. Because it's all going to vanish. All the big lamas are burnt in a pot. They make a little clay thing with bricks and they pop them inside and they burn them down, they flog off the ashes, put them in stupas, bowing to ashes. Bowing to ashes. At least the Christians say ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and they throw it away. Non-attachment goes in funny directions. And you have to think clearly. Socio-political, cultural formations and Dharma are not the same. sociological formations in different cultures have nothing to do with the original teachings. Garab Dorji never mentioned building stupas. And in fact, the stupa tradition arose after the death of Buddha Shakyamuni, because there were 8 groups of sponsors who were fighting for the body, because hanging on to the corpse of a famous person would be important. So the relics were put into 8 different stupas, 8 different styles of stupas. That is called socio-political economic discourse. It's not dharma. You have to think, you're going to die, and all your qualities will vanish. There'll just be some trace of karma. What won't vanish is awareness. So you have from now till you die to say hello to yourself. Not to say hello to the representations of yourself, the contents of your mind, but to open to your mind itself, which is primordial Buddhahood. This is the essential point. No one can do it for you. It's there with you. Tibetans talk about ngotro, or introduction to the mind. Tropa means to point out or to show or to introduce, and ngo is short for ngowo, which means face, to show you your face. Now, your face you can't see. If someone shows you a photo of your face, that's not your face, that's a representation. You can be your face. You can inhabit your face. If somebody is authentic, they are shining through their face. So this is the meaning, to get rid of the artificiality, the constructs which hide you from yourself and hide you from other people, so that you will shine through as yourself. So the introduction to the mind is really not something that anybody can do for you. You have to introduce yourself to yourself. So how do you do this? So we've already been looking that awareness, the illuminating aspect of the mind, and the content of the mind are not the same. The mirror and the reflection are not the same. The mirror is unchanged, although the reflections are always changing. So when you sit and you look is not exactly the right word. When you open to how you are, that would be a better way to express it. And you're just with how it is, not cooking it up, not adding ingredients. Mind is there. Mind is there, not empty. Mind is always there with something. If you're looking for the mind itself, you might get it for a second, 5 seconds. But generally, the mind fills. If the mind remains empty for a long time, this is a dead end for meditators. This is the basis for being reborn in the upper realms of samsara, the formless realms, where the mind is just peaceful and undisturbed and nothing's happening. Then after a while, when the karma or the energy supporting that shifts, thoughts arise and you don't know what they are, and tumble, and you find yourself somewhere else. The movement of the mind is not the enemy. The movement of the mind is the radiance or the glow of the mind. So, the introduction to the mind, we can do it through the face. This is your face. You can feel your face from the inside. And if you feel coming up from your heart, your face, it's very open. You just feel it yourself. Oh. Feel kind of light and warmth going out through your face. Oh. So this is the openness of the face. There's not anything yet. The second aspect is called Rangjin. Rangjin also means face. But here it can be understood as complexion. So you have your face, and it has a complexion. Depends on your health, Depends whether you've been in a warm place, depends all sorts of things. But your face has a particular way of showing. So when you look at someone's face, you see something about them. They look a bit tired, they look energized, whatever. So this is the showing of the face. And then thirdly, you have the expression of the face. The lips, how the smile comes out, how the eyes are. Oh, the face is expressing something. So you have the unformedness of the potential of the face, the empty face, the complexion, and the expression. These three are inseparable. This expression in Tibetan they call tukche, which means energy or sometimes compassion. It means the communicative mode, the nimanakaya, how we relate into the field of experience. And we do that by expression. We do that by expression means so much. If you go into a cafe and the people are grumpy, it's not very nice. Fuck it, come on, smile. It doesn't cost you anything. It's nice if people smile. It affects us. So expression is relational. The complexion is disclosure. It's more like an availability. And the unborn nature of the mind is ungraspable here-ness. These three are inseparable. When you see this ganchi, it's like a yin-yang symbol, but with three aspects. It's referring to these three aspects. And this is how we are. This is who we are. This is how primordial Buddhahood is present in us. But we become dulled and we don't quite get it. We hide ourselves from ourselves, which is a very sad thing to do. So, if you want to find your mind, then you have to follow the instructions. Of course, there are certain situations which can give you some opening. For example, Milarepa lists sneezing. If you have a good sneeze, the mind goes blank. You might see some little dots of light. In that moment, sometimes called hedewa, nothing at all, then you can have some sense of the emptiness of the mind. You can have it in orgasm. You can have it in a shock, slipping and falling down. Something. You're shocked out of yourself. But of course, soon after, you're shocked back into yourself. And life goes on. So although these moments can give some sort of flavor, they're lucky moments. If you want to be with yourself as it is, you have to stay close with yourself day and night, 24 hours a day, however it is. If you're bored, listless, whatever it is, let that come through, because that is part of the expression. If you stay with that, like the expression of the face. So you don't want to do any meditation. Just sit with that. Don't want to do it. Fucking boring. I don't know why. No point. Not judging, not taking sides. Judgment is always difficult, because judgment means I am making a judgment about something. There is a somethingness which is there, an object side, and there is a judger, subject, this side. So I'm making my judgment on myself. I can't do this, I won't do this, this is terrible. This is duality. It's manifestly duality. Because I have split myself into I and me, and I'm talking about myself. I'm thinking about myself. I don't like this. So this is not non-duality. Non-duality is one of the qualities of awareness. I'm not in awareness. Where am I? I'm up my arse. I'm lost. I'm lost. I'm lost. Okay. Relax. Have a shower. Dance about. Then sit again. Don't struggle. Don't try to improve yourself. Don't try to find yourself, because you're not really lost. But if you think you're really lost, then you have to try to find yourself. And the effort of trying to find yourself is one of the great ways of becoming more lost. Because it's Ye Sanje, it's Buddha from the very beginning. If it's Buddha from the very beginning, you didn't get lost. But I am lost, I'm fucked up, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Thank you, that's a sequence of thoughts. Shall I believe your thoughts? Do your thoughts define you? Yes, no, maybe. Yeah? So you have to do this for yourself. I can blah, blah, blah a lot about this stuff. But you yourself have to become curious. If you're interested, I'm veiling myself from myself. I prefer to have thoughts about myself than to relax and stay with the naked presencing of myself. Huh? Remember, one ground, two paths. I'm choosing the path of ignoring openness in order to hang on to the constructs which I have identified as being the truth about myself. When you find that, then you have to really stay close with yourself and think, all these constructs which I rely on to validate who I am, are they true? Are they real? Are they enduring? And if you look, you see they're not. They vanish. I cheat myself. More than anyone else could ever cheat me, I cheat myself. Oh. How? Now this is the important thing. Not to go into blaming, but I say, okay, how do I cheat myself? So now you sit and you watch how you cheat yourself. I'm going to stay relaxed and open. And now I'm following a thought. Hang on a minute, I thought you were going to be relaxed and open. What happened there? It just happened. It just happened. No. 1 minute you were relaxed and open, now you're following a thought. It just happened. That's the state for most of us. That's why we can't work out how we put ourselves in knots, because we're blind. That's a shadow territory. We have shadow areas in our personality, but you have these ontological shadow areas where you have a transition between open to closed, and it's in the dark. So we have to just bring us attention more and more. How do I get lost? How do I give myself into nonsense? You know, on an outer level, we know these things are difficult. You decide that you're going to read something and it's a bit difficult, and suddenly you're watching the telly. Or you decide you've had enough food, you put it all away, and now you're taking ice cream out of the fridge. Why? Oh, because I want some. No, you don't want some. You had enough, you decided you had enough. No, I want some. So then you realize, I am not a unitary person. I am plural, and my self-states or my self-aspects don't like each other. So ice cream eating self says, fuck off to vegan self. Don't speak to me, don't touch me, don't comment on me. I am ice cream eating self, and it's my time. And then after that's finished, sad little fat self comes out. So at least if we start to recognize that we are multiple. Okay, if I'm multiple, the idea that I could sort myself out is clearly a delusion. It's not about sorting ourselves out. We are complex. And this complexity, if it is turned in the direction of compassion, means that we can relate to different people, because we can speak in different ways. We can think in different ways about different issues. So it's not about homogenization. It's about bringing more communication intrapsychically in yourself, which then permits more communication interpersonally. And then taking that further, you start to see that the communication is the energy of the ground. The expression of the face comes through the complexion of the face, which arises due to the openness of the face. Then these three aspects of our existence are inseparable. So this is how we are. And we have to hang out with ourselves. So that if it remains just as theory, it won't do you any good. You have to observe. And the key thing, in order to observe, you have to shoot the accountant and shoot the policeman. Don't keep a score. Don't work out whether you're making progress or not. There is no progress in Dzogchen. You're not trying to get anywhere. It's just being with this. And you shoot the policeman, because the policeman's always making judgments. Good, bad, right, wrong, you shouldn't have done this. That kind of thought is completely unhelpful. What we want is curiosity. Our question is always how, not why. Why takes you into all kinds of possibilities of more thought, but how? So you're tracking your mind, and the only way to track what occurred is to be with it in the moment of its occurrence. Because when you ask what happened, you've already got something to hold on to, haven't you? There's a whatness, there's a thingness. Oh, I got it wrong. Don't even go there. What there was a closing or a tension. That is to say, a process. It was verbal, not nominative. It was movement of the mind into particular formations. And once you grab hold of it and say, I made a mistake, or that was terrible meditation, or I don't know how to do this, you have a complete solidification, which then excludes you from the fact that you tilted a wee bit that way. No, you can tilt a wee bit that way. If you stay in the movement, movement will be moving. It never comes to an end. But when you grasp it and you start to make a conclusion about it, then the judgment will freeze you. And then there's something to be done. I don't like being this way. I'm tired of being like this way. I need to do something different. Then you go and see the Lama and say, Lama, what shall I do? They've got a big book of things to do. 101 things the Lama can tell you to do. It's absolutely true. Tibetan Buddhism is full of these. Not just 101, but 100,000 things to do. Endlessly. There's nothing wrong with any of that activity. The question is, who is the doer of the deed? Dzogchen is different, because we say the only one in this town that does anything is the ground, and the ground does nothing. So the doer of everything does nothing. That's your mind. The doer of everything does nothing. But I do things. When there's a sense that I do things, I make mistakes, or I do too much, or I say too much. Even I do things quite well, and that was good. This is described with the term the chepapo, the doer, the one who does things. The best translation for this is fetor, which is not such a common English word. Its root in Latin is to do, to make. Its meaning is imposter. The ego as doer is an imposter. The imposter makes themselves, because they're making themselves into the one they're pretending to be, and then they make things happen from the position of the imposter. So this brings us into looking at ignorance. So these qualities we were looking at about awareness, the general heading for them is the way it is. That's the sort of heading for that. Now we have the way of delusion, true look. Look means a style or a fashion or a way, and true but means, in this context, deluded. So deluded means you believe something that's false and you're convinced of its truth. And because you're convinced of its truth, you don't even know that it might be false, so you have no suspicion about yourself. You're committed to darkness, to a belief which is not correct. So when the British went to Australia and encountered the Aborigines, for a lot of the British, the Aborigines were not human, and so they could kill them. And until the mid part of the last century, it was not a murder to kill an Aborigine, because they're not fully human. So that's a definition. That's amazing. It's not a very nice thought. Whether somebody is allowed to have a vote or not is based on opinion. Should women have a vote? Was contentious for a long, long time. It's a matter of opinion. It's not a fact. These are constructions. This is the doer, the maker. And it arises on the basis of delusion. So inside your delusion, we know what a real human being is. We know that people who oppose the extremist Salafist orientation in Islam, they are kafir, these are unbelievers, and they should be murdered because it is a virtue to kill an unbeliever. That's an idea, that's a thought. Some people have that. Cut people's heads off, and they think it's a good thing to do. Because they're inside a frame of reference that says that's good. Dumping crap in the rivers was very, very popular, from the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. We're still trying to get pollution out of rivers. Now he's thinking about plastic bags. You get all these pictures of, 1,000 plastic bags taken out of the belly of a whale. I think, why would you do that? What do you do? You just tie it to the bag and you throw it and the wind blows it into the sea. That's what we live in. This is our world, delusion. We don't want to see what's on the end of our nose. This is not theory. This is who we are. You have to think, whoa, wake up, Mr. Lowe. Wake up. What's going on? So, the first step of delusion, which you can see historically, or you can see in this instant, both are true, is the first level of ignorance, which is called Dagni Chikpu Ki Marikpa. Dag means I, self. It also means thing. It means an entity, something which is real. Dagni means this essential thingness. Chikpu means alone. It stands alone. This is a self-existing real thing. So, in the openness of the mind, something arises. Oh. Some impact. Now, that impact has gone because all arising things vanish. You observe that in your mind. However, tendencies can be reiterated, repeated. They can return. So the return and the return and the return, we start thinking, it's the same thing. Been here before, had this before. And this empty, vanishing moment now appears to be something which is there. It's this. So, this is the second level of ignorance, in which there is the knower of the thing and the thing arising together as reflections in the mirror. Subject and object move together as wisps of energy creating patterns. Like sometimes if you go on the desert and the wind's blowing and you see these little whirlwinds, they seem to be dancing over the top of the dunes. Just like that, swirling. Ooh. This is called Henchichepi Maripa. This is the ignorance of the co-emergence of the ever-present ground and the inattention to the ground, which is giving rise to subject and object as separate things. Now this happens every moment in your mind. When you sit to do the meditation, you can see that. 1 minute you're a bit relaxed and open, next minute you're involved. Involved, to volve, to return, to twirl, revolver. You go round something, you return to it. Who returns to it? The one who is returning to themselves. So, like when you're a kid and you get a spinning top and you pull the string, and that's what the ego's doing. The ego's spinning round and round, and the objects are spinning round and round, and they're kind of in harmony, just pulsing. A thought arises in the mind and you're involved. Who's involved? I'm involved. Who are you? I'm the one involved in the thought. But who are you? I'm the one involved in the thought. But who are you? In that moment, you are exactly speaking the truth. You are the one involved in the thought. There's nothing else to you, because I is an empty signifier. I has no content of its own. Everyone in this room can say I about themselves, which is very strange. I alone am I. You are imposters. But the reason I works for everyone is that there is no truth in I. I is hospitality. I is infinite hospitality. This is watch. Now, we can do quite a lot of things with a watch. If you were a kid, you could whack someone with it. If you're 8, that would be an 8-year-old muscles a good try. So that's also a weapon. But there's not all that much, because there's a sort of watchness to the watch. There's a sort of something to it. It's delimited or delineation by its function. But I, much more dangerous. I has nothing in it. And so it can be filled with anything. I can become murderous or delicious or kind or generous. I can be anything. This is the inherent freedom of the emptiness of the mind. And I, rather than referring to an inherently defined subjectivity, an ego essence which can be determined, the wonderful thing about I is it is so true. The mind is empty and I is empty too. So I is always the truth of your awareness, although when you say I, you don't believe in its emptiness, and that's why you fill it. Because you don't just say I. I what? Well, you started out, you said I. Come on, you can't just say I. Oh, I'm hungry. Okay, I'll get you an omelette. So I has to be filled. And it will fill it with anything, but I is empty. Oh, that's how I have a rich life, because I am able to have all kinds of experience. So if I knew who I was, I would shrink my I. But you can't shrink your I, because it's empty, and so it's always bigger. It can't be caught. Self-knowledge is a delusion. Know thyself, why bother? The self is always changing. The self arises in dependent co-origination due to many factors which are not in your control. You get happy, you get sad due to all kinds of reasons. So how could you know what that self was? The one thing you can know about the self is it is empty like I. Emptiness is the ground. On the basis of that, the potential arises. So on this second level of ignorance, there is the movement of potential, which is actually empty, but is starting to be formulated as the continuity of the projected, enduring self-substance that we had in the first level of ignorance. So I'm here, and I was here yesterday evening, I'll be here tomorrow morning, and then I won't be here because I'll be somewhere else, because I'm always somewhere. The self is always located. All forms are located somewhere, whether it's motor cars or newspapers, they always have to be somewhere. Things always have duration and location. That's their structural quality. Your glasses are always somewhere, even if you can't find them. So, I will be somewhere. Where will I be? I structure that in terms of the relationship that I have with the potential of the field. I could be here, I could be there. Oh, I have to be there. So some kind of necessity arises through nomenclature, through naming and identification. This is the third level of ignorance. It's called the ignorance of naming everything or representing everything. Kuntak. Tak means like a label or a title that you pin on, almost like a kind of logo. And so as you start to identify everything in the room, you become more intelligent and more stupid simultaneously. So, for example, in Dzogchen, if you were concerned with practices connected with Töger, with light, what you're concerned with is to see light, which is not so miraculous because light is all you can see anyway. You cannot see a train. You cannot see a bus. You cannot even see a banana. All you ever can see is light. You can imagine a banana, a bus, a tree, a person, but you see light. So this kind of practice is designed to allow the illegitimate marriage of phenomena and conceptual interpretation to be divorced. They are allowed to separate out so that you have pure phenomena, and pure phenomena arises light and sound, ceaselessly moving. Now you can enter into a play with the light and sound, which gives rise to the formation of all the objects of the world. This is like the copulation of the binaries, the male, the female, the red, the green, everything oppositional can be brought in contact, and in that intercourse it gives rise to different formulations. This is what language does. So in this third level of ignorance, we start developing the capacity to know everything. Now, some of the knowledge we keep in encyclopedias, dictionaries, and so on, but we have confidence that the frontiers of science are ever expanding and we will get this universal knowledge, all these physicists looking after one global integrative theory of everything. Knowledge, total power. From this point of view of Dharma, this is a big, bad road. This is a cul-de-sac. This leads nowhere except to the development of the 6 realms of samsara. But it's terribly tempting. It's very seductive, because it appears to empower you to know the names of things, the qualities of things, so that you can judge them. You can put them in hierarchies of meaning and value and cost and so on. And you get paid money for that. You get paid money. If you're a clothes buyer, say for a big store, you have to go out in the street, you see what the kids are wearing, you fly off to Thailand, you negotiate different deals and so on. You have to be at least 9 months ahead of what's coming in the shops. There's a lot of stuff that's going on. There's a lot of activity that people are working out, trends and patterns and pricing and import times and so on. Many, many people earn their money doing these things, turning ideas into commodities. Turning commodities into ideas, working in a research laboratory. You get specimens and you unpack what they are. This all belongs to ignorance from the Buddhist point of view. These are ways of surviving in this world of duality, but they hide the nature of duality because I am making sense of this, and this is not me. Self and other are forced further and further apart. So you can observe for yourself when you walk down the street and you have a visceral antipathy to something. You don't like it. You just, whoa, not for me, I don't know. Say you see a dead rat. Dead rat, okay. Take it home, get out my scalpel, practice a little bit of see if there's anything tasty to eat inside. There are people who are very interested in eating roadkill in this country. Find a badger. You can be interested in anything. But so you see, you have immediately an antipathy towards the dead rat. What did you see? Color and shape. That's what you see, color and shape. And the color is also an interpretation. With your capacity for pattern recognition, this color and shape combination indicates rat. Rat is a concept. I don't like rats. Until you knew it was a rat, you didn't feel too much. You look at it, what's that? What's that? Oh, fuck, it's a rat. So what are you frightened at? Your own thought. Your own idea of what it is. This is the meaning of this third level of ignorance. That there's a lot of emotion and passion involved inside it. So this links to the 5 afflictions or the 5 poisons, which you find as a major interpretive structure in Tibetan Buddhism. The first is timuk, which is a kind of mental dullness or stupidity or opacity, in which you think you're seeing something, but you're not. So it's a bit like looking at somebody who's got these mirrored sunglasses, and when you look at them, you see yourself. So when you look at the world, instead of seeing things as they are, you see your interpretation reflected back to you. So the horror you feel at the rat is not what was there, it's what you have projected shooting back onto you. So this is the nature of mental dullness, that you don't get it. I just scared myself. So a classic example for this is on a dark night in India, a farmer goes out for a walk. He's carrying his bamboo stick, his lathi with him, because it could be bandits or something in the fields. And he's going along, there's a bit of flickering moonlight, it shines on the path. Shit, there's a snake. He's backing away from it, takes his stick and he's kind of poking at it, pokes it a bit more. Doesn't move very much, pokes it off. And he looks again. It's a piece of rope. It's a piece of rope. Is it a snake? Is it a rope? Well, as long as he thought it was a snake, he was afraid. As soon as he sees it's a piece of rope, he's not afraid. So we are in the situation of seeing ropes as snakes, of misapprehension, misinterpretation, and so we scare ourselves. Because, oh, President Trump, crazy guy, what's he doing? He's just another ordinary nutter. We're all nutters. Everybody's a bit crazy. Where do you find a good politician in the whole world? People are not very balanced. We are emotional, labile creatures blowing this way and that. I would be a very bad idea if I was the Prime Minister of this country. It would not be good for the people. But we are ourselves. We are ourselves, so we have to get close to ourselves. So, when you have a strong belief that you have an accurate perception, it's going to be difficult, because usually the phenomena can be cut in different ways. So, it's a rope. And the farmer goes home with the rope. And he thinks, this is the last time that fucking bitch of a wife is going to speak to me. And he takes the rope and he strangles her. There's a secondary part of the story. It's not in the tradition. So the dangerous snake becomes the peaceful rope, becomes the murder implement. It's in the potential of the situation. Do you understand? It is the mind. It's not the object. It's always the mind. And the mind can go beautiful, sweet, sour, bitter, chili, all kind of flavors and colors move in people's minds. Like the Buddha said, friends become enemies, enemies become friends. Good people do bad things, bad people do good things. It is complex. It's not reducible to right and wrong, good and bad. So one of the things is that awareness, if we look back a little bit, awareness doesn't come to conclusions. Yeah? Awareness stays open, working with circumstances. The circumstances change. But I thought you were my friend. These words come out a lot in people. Heartbreak, whether it's politically, romantically, in business. I thought you were my friend. You took refuge in your own idea about that person. That is a mental formation which you took to be the truth about that person. But people change. If the Buddha says friends become enemies, enemies become friends, Why are we saying, but I thought you were my friend? It's sad, isn't it? We are unreliable. There is no Buddhist teaching that says, take refuge in your lover. Not even saying, take refuge in your mother. They say, take refuge in the Buddha. Buddha. Not darling, not sweetie pie. Buddha. It's real, isn't it? But we take refuge in all kinds of things. We take refuge in the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Why? You take refuge in the NHS? Not a good idea. Having worked in it for a long time, it is a shameful, overworked, overstressed, inefficient organisation. This is terrible. But this is what we have, and we don't want to see it, so we tell lies to ourselves and believe that something is gold when it's made of copper. It's madness. That's what it means by mental dullness, that we don't want to see how things are. We're self-deceiving. Arising from this reification, this seeing real, solidly existing entities, two pathways open up. Desire for what we take to be good, and aversion or anger or antipathy towards things we don't like. So once you have thingness, once you have a world of things, of people, you like them or you don't like them. We tend to like them if they're nice to us, and then we don't like them if they're not nice to us. You've changed. Imagine a Buddhist complaining to their lover, you've changed. Oh no, how could that be? The Buddha said everything's permanent and we'd be married forever. Oh, sorry, that was when I was a Christian. The holy marriage will last. You get a wee ring and all, that's lovely. Jesus, thank you. You weren't married yourself, were you? No. It's crazy. This is how you have to look sharp and see, oh, these are stories. And you can believe these stories, and they're all like tunnels, and you enter the tunnel, and it takes you in this labyrinthine movement, and then suddenly it pops open, and you say, fuck, what was that all about? What was that all about? We went to war in Iraq. They were in Afghanistan. The people didn't want us there. The people didn't need us there. The people in Libya do need us there. And are we there? Are our boys there? No, they're not. No, they're not. Nice people, aren't we? You have to look and see. Don't believe. Don't assume. See, oh, these are the 5 poisons moving. It's not that people are bad. It's that we're all drugged, intoxicated. That's why these are called the 5 poisons. If you take a poison, it will impact you. You take some arsenic, it will affect your perception. It will affect your central nervous system. So when these 5 poisons operate inside you, you do not have clarity. You think you have clarity, but you have intoxication. That's it. So then you have the second pairing, which is pride and jealousy. Pride, you have an affirmative belief in your own importance or value, function, status. And with jealousy, you come in contact with anxiety that the framework that you've used to establish your sense of self is put in question. The person I love loves someone else. Now I feel very bad. Stop loving them and love only me. And if you don't do that, I won't love you. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Okay. But I love the other person. No, but you shouldn't love them. You should only love me. So I'll stop loving them and only love you, and then you'll love me. But what about them? Never mind them. Fuck them. They don't. Just love me. That's the infinite compassion of the Buddha's mind. Because you are intoxicated with wanting to be special. Human love says, what about me? What about me? What about me? Don't leave me. That is to say, I'm dependent. I am autonomously dependent. So these 5 poisons are very powerful because they They're like the energy system, pumping towards and away from, up and down, pulsing all the time. And we're caught up in the sway of them. And they're all activated by the belief in truly existing entities. And when we look, there is no truly existing entity anywhere. There are movements of presentation. We are alive. We're in this room. We can see. We can hear. This is alive. But it's not a thing. It's pulsing, connected. We're in this together. So we have the fourth level of ignorance, which is the ignorance of the stupidity or the obtuseness of not getting karma. It means you don't get what karma is. Karma means activity. It means, in Tibetan, it is activity which is a cause that has consequences. So we're used to the idea that actions have results. So if I get up and slap you in the face, you get upset. That would be the result. But whatever it is that motivated me to get up and slap you in the face is not you, it's some tendency in me. So I then have a pattern which is overtaking my concern for you as a person, my thoughtfulness about how you might feel, and I just want to do it. So it's a self-referential action operated onto another, and that creates a particular kind of vibration or orientation or smoothing. Because I thought, we better not do that, especially with the cameras on. Get the jail to take me away, so they will. So there's an interruption for most of us. You have a thought and you think, oh, better not. So the arousal into the thought is dispersed either because you think of the consequences or you think of the other person. But when that doesn't happen, you're gathered into an uninterrupted commitment to a very narrow self-serving activity. Does that make sense? And that's what karma is. That's how the tendency arises. So some of you will know that from smoking cigarettes. You start to smoke cigarettes and then after a while you have to smoke cigarettes. You don't know why you smoke cigarettes. You just, I'm not going to smoke. Then you're smoking the cigarette. Why am I smoking a cigarette? Because you have the tendency. Or you stop smoking for 6 months, you go to a party, you drink some wine, you bum a cigarette off someone. Well, this is good. How come? Because that echo from before took you over. And very often these things happen when you're tired, when you're not very well, when you're a bit disorganized. So karma has 4 aspects to it, as traditionally described. The first is also called the ground, but it's not the primordial ground we were talking of. It's the fact of duality and reification. I exist, you exist, you are not me, I am not you, so we're 2 people. Looking across the space from me to you, I can formulate an intention. So the frame of my intention is you're not me. If you were me, the non-differentiation wouldn't bring about an intention. But my intention can be neutral or positive or negative. A neutral intention could be very mild, like, may you be happy. May all beings be happy. Good luck. It's an intention of me towards you, but it's not having much of an impact. A negative intention could be, I wonder what's in that guy's bag. Doesn't look like he's got a purse in his pocket, so maybe it's in his bag. I'll wait till he goes for a pee and then I'll have a wee look. Huh? So you start thinking, I could take what is his. I want, forget about what he needs, I want. So the formulation, the intention is coming around a sense of the other as a means to an end. I'm not valuing the living existential validity of that person, their life, what's important to them. You don't, if you're going to steal, you don't want empathic attunement. Not a good idea. He's just thinking, where's your money? I want that. I can get from you. So you can see what that's bringing. An increased sense of duality, a disregard for the existence and the complexity of the other person, and a me first. So you go out of the room, I go into your bag and I find some money. Great. Hey, rich guy. I put it in my pocket. That's good. Mine. And you come back in. God, where's my money? I don't know. There were some people came into the room. I was over there. So you lie and you cover your tracks. And he goes out looking for these other people. Mission accomplished. So that's the fourth stage. So the first is he exists and we're in a field of duality. The second is my intention to get something. The third is the enactment. Now I'm taking it and I'm glad I'm taking it. And the fourth is I have successfully taken it, hidden it, and it's mine, and I'm glad. So at each stage you have an alignment or a non-alignment with what happened. If having taken it, and he comes in and says, God, he's taken my train ticket, I'll never get home, what am I going to do? He says, oh shit, that's bad. Let me help you look for it. Oh, I seem to have found it over there. So you could backtrack a little bit. Or in the moment that you're taking it, you're thinking, what am I doing? What am I doing? You put it back. So at each stage, you can backtrack or soften it. But if you take these four stages fully through, you've annihilated the other person as significant. So that's the death of compassion. And you've taken the person to be separate from you and solidly real. That's the death of wisdom. So you have annihilated your spiritual life in that action. Huh? If you stay present with the fact that everything arises as the movement of the energy of the ground, you would have no basis for exploiting other people. You could collaborate with people. You could say, I lost my job, could you give me any work? I mean, you could communicate, you can be honest about your life, and it could be that you get some help. But you'd have to start from self-disclosure. If you're wanting to steal, you don't do that. You have self-hiding if you're a thief, not self-disclosure. So that's how ignorance functions, or unawareness functions. And due to karma, we find ourselves in one or other of the six realms, the high god realms, the demigods, the humans, the animals, the hungry ghosts, and the various hell realms. These are all sequences of experience which are intense and captivating. If you go out in the country and you come to a field and there's cows, and you look at them, if it's little calves, they'll come bopping over and have a look. They're big eyes, pick some grass. Flies all around their eyes. Their arse is very far from their eyes. Although the tail's long, it can't quite get to their eyes. It's really sad. It's heartbreaking. Summertime. It's flies all over their eyes. Fucking hell. You wouldn't want to be a cow. You wouldn't want to be a snail. You wouldn't want to be a virus. So there are lots of not so good places to be. We're very lucky. We are creme de la creme. We're top notch for a while. We have access to so many things. We can especially look at our mind. If you look at a baby cow, it can't see its mind. You see the little lambs bouncing about in the fields. They're happy to be alive. They're so gorgeous. They don't see their mind. Fish don't see their mind. They are looking for something, looking for food, looking for sex. Sex and danger, these are the two big motivating aspects of life. Entrained into these overdetermined positionings, how would they ever be able to reflect on their situation? But we, for a brief period of time, have the possibility to sit and just start to observe the actuality of our existence, how I am. Not who I am or what I am, but how I am. And if we do that, we start to open to unborn awareness. We start to see primordial Buddhahood, and then this thick veil of ignorance dissolves. Just as when the sun rises in the sky, the mist, the morning mist that fills the valley, just starts to dissolve, and it's as if it had never been there. In the same way, all your obscurations will dissolve if you stay with awareness. But if you choose to get rid of your obscurations by rubbing and scrubbing and joining Vajrasattva in his endless task, Vajrasattva is like Sisyphus. Remember Sisyphus? He's condemned to roll this boulder up the mountain. When he gets it to the top, it rolls down. Purify one sentient being. Thank God for that. These bloody people, they keep fucking and having babies all over the world. Another one. Getting them in the bath, it's so difficult. I'm tired. Purifying is, we see why we want to do it, because we feel dirty, we feel obscured, we feel limited. We want to remove these things. The path of Dzogchen is different. Every arising phenomena is self-liberating. Don't make effort. You'll only make it worse. But I just want to help. Can I help? No. You can help by sitting quietly in a corner and not doing anything. That's called meditation. Right, time for tea.